toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the messenger, the spirit of guidance.
Welcome you all to our fourth out of our 5 classes on making God a unique reality in your life. And we've gone through many different ways of thinking of the statement I just made about the uniqueness, about God, about our participation. And hopefully tonight we'll put it together in an association with even parts of the body, the eyes, the heart, the hands, so that they are reminders for us in the midst of our lives of what we are doing, what we are representing, what we are bringing to the divine through our own life. And I want you to say the other way besides our unique, God as a unique being.
Making a unique life for God in reality. So we're giving God life through us, making God a living God.
So in doing this class, I'd like us to do like God did in creating the universe. Well, God differentiated, pulled things apart, and the goal then through the alchemical process is to have them all reunite. So we're going to pull things apart a little bit and then allow them to reunite. And the reuniting is in a different kind of way instead of just pulling them all into one tight bunch. It is really allowing them to resonate with each other so that they have their distance, they have their uniqueness, they even have the overlappingness, but they resonate in a new kind of way, in a multidimensional kind of way. So let's first think about, last week we did quite a bit of work with the glance, with using our eyes in a different kind of way, rather than only receiving light from the surrounding manifest world. We were actually experiencing light coming through our eyes and blessing the reality, bringing our the light, which is unmanifest, as we looked up and inhaled, and then as we exhaled, looking past the things that we see in our immediate environment, and including everything. We said we were looking at the stars, but it doesn't only involve the farthest reaches of this manifest universe, this cosmos. We're also thinking of everything in between all of these, being saturated with that light of the uncreated worlds. So we're using our eyes now as beams of light, beams that can bring light into the world. Kind of like we always talk about, things are being created right now. So it's not really taking light that was in another place. It was the uncreated light. It wasn't light until we had this experience of bringing it into the world. So at that moment, then it was created through our own affirmation and our own presence. So this light, these eyes are very important to this process. And of course, these physical eyes really represent something deeper than that. We always look at what transpires behind what appears. So there's this part of, it's really a part of our own neural system, our neurological system, that has this great concentration of light and neurons in the head. But beyond that, there are all the chakras that we speak about. There are all these connections to deeper, more subtle spheres that we are enlisting as we use the eyes. So I'm thinking of these eyes as, I'd like to think of them as eyes of love. let's make these eyes the eyes of love. These eyes of love can bring healing to the world. These eyes of love can transduce, like I said before, from the non-manifest world into this world. These eyes, I've spoken before of what I think of as the compassionate witness, my beloved, who witnesses everything that I do with love. In fact, Pirzia says that we are watched with unconditional love at all times. The important first step to this process of making God a reality in our life is this feeling that we are loved so deeply, unconditionally, so that the witness is always rejoicing in what the witness sees, what God sees, seeing it with eyes of love. It's a wonderful admonition to us to see. So what are we seeing with the eyes of love? We are seeing, first of all, the things that we are doing in the world. We're seeing this being and loving this being. Because if we can't do that and feel that love as this manifest being, then we can't do the whole rest of the process. But also, we are using these eyes of love on others in life. And we need to think about this, that as we have transformed and we've worked for years and years, many of us, in spiritual practices, our eyes become very strong and our energy becomes very strong. And we need to be careful with this. If we look at someone else and we are critical, we are really emphasizing that part that we especially don't like. It's like we're hardening that. We don't want to harden these things in reality and saying, oh, I don't like that, and standing against that, and why are they doing this? Or if they are getting this energy, I'm not. All these ego kinds of thinking. Yes, we do those things, but it's something that we need to begin to release in this gaze of these eyes of love. So as we see that mental process where we're separating ourselves from others, again, it's a tricky place because we want to be loving with our own self who's seeing it like that, but we want to be giving the very best that we can to those around us. And as we do this, as we use these eyes of love and begin to accept unconditionally, well, the changes will still happen. We don't need to be the ones that are saying, oh no, this is wrong and don't do this. And instead of critical, allowing the eyes of love and extending this to all the parts of our own being. Gabrielite said that our eyes emit photons at the speed of light. So we need to remember that always the light is coming from these eyes, but from inner spheres. So this is the first of 3 different aspects onto which we can concentrate. Besides extending the love, doing no harm, and giving that unconditional love, allowing that to come through us. Again, it's not only the us we think of as us. Again, we are that being of God, that one in life that is manifest as representative of God. And allowing that love to come through here. And of course, as we say, there's no other place than here. If we can have this happening in this place, then it is going to resonate through other beings, through other places, through many different ways. So those are the eyes of love. The next is the heart. Important in all the traditions. And in this case, we're thinking of this wonderful word, the theophore, the God bearer. It says in the Christian mystical tradition, it's called the theophore, that you are the theophore, you are the God bearer. Now, when we say God bearer, it sounds a little bit more like there's a separation there. But we are, in our using it, I challenge you to use it as feeling suffused with the being of God, feeling this overlapping or resonating. I was out walking yesterday in nature, and the wind was blowing and making beautiful waves in the water. And they were going every which way and making these beautiful designs. So it could be like this interspersing of waves with the divine that we are feeling, so that we feel that and know as the God bearer that we also bear these deep desires within us that have been given to us, that are our unique desires, and that we use these deepest desires as an impetus for our action in the world. So I have felt lately that, there's a shining from this area, from my heart. There's a beautiful feeling, a feeling of oneness again with the divine, a feeling of being the theophore, and knowing that it is through this relationship with the divine, through us saying, yes, I will be this transducer. I will be, and at the same time, you are that light that is shined. So you are all of these stages. You are just being the bridge or transducer at this point as we focus on the heart and using our deep desires as impetus. So if you can feel these two now, softly feeling that light coming from the eyes as the eyes of love, and also the heart radiating really outwards, but also in the back. And this is that feeling of allowing the divine as much leeway and open channels as possible in the situation that we're in. So these are kind of subtle aspects. Now we come to the third of these areas, and there are hands. And they represent being engaged in life in a fully manifest way. Pir Vilayat always used to say, on the one hand, and on the other hand. He loved to be showing one side of things and the other side of things. And so I'll do the same thing in talking about the hands. First of all, let's think of one hand, and for you, maybe if you're right-handed, think of your right hand. If you're left-handed, your left. If you're both, then pick one of them. And let's think about, first of all, on the one hand, we need to have our, I called it the sandbox before, our safe place, the place where we feel most successful, perhaps. Maybe we have our little art lab and do some art work in our studio. We might have a music place where we play music. We have our meditation place where we allow these worlds to open up around us. Maybe a place with a child that we love, or some being, our husband or wife, or someone that we would just love to think about them. So we can think about them as we think of that dominant hand, and I'm holding it kind of gently in my grasp, and just feeling this lovely feeling of accomplishment, perhaps, feeling of joy. This is something that we have worked with already in our lives, and it is a success. It is something that we could show, oh yes, this is something wonderful in my life. Okay. And on the other hand, we can have that place that we spoke of, especially in the imaginal discussions that we've had, where we are challenging and thinking of something new, thinking of what are the other possibilities in life. So I'm thinking of this hand then as an open hand. So we have one closed and comfortable and cozy and lovely, and the other one open, wondering what is next. Also, knowing that the divine is presenting the divine self to us in the world, and we're opening to that. Maybe somebody very different from ourselves. And we might feel at first like pulling back, but we're saying, oh no, here we go. Here's the new possibility in my life. This is unfamiliar to me. This is a part which, in sharing with our son Orion, I brought some ideas to you from his science point of view. And he was saying, you need to be able to stand in the unfamiliar place and be ready, have your tools, but you need to be able to stand unfamiliarity. And a lot of times this is a place where we go in love for others, those that we feel that we want to help. And it's not a comfortable place, but it is a place that we want to open to in becoming what we need to in this life as the divine, as the theophore of the divine. So here are these ideas. And so now we can put them together in a kind of mudra. You know, mudra is a way of thinking of the body and how you can have a motion of the hands, perhaps, to capture a cycling of energy and an idea. And in this case, we can have our eyes of love. Think of, go ahead and concentrate again on having the eyes of love softly looking. We don't gaze harshly, but we're softly looking outwards and thinking of the heart glowing and expressing something without even saying it, and being seen by the divine and entering into the world. And then finally our hands, one cupped and the other opened. Now there are words to go with this also. When we think about the eyes, I say, I walk with eyes of love. And then as it continues like an affirmation, I think of the heart and I say, with God born in my heart. And this born is B-O-R-N-E, but it's also B-O-R-N. God born in my heart. And then thinking of these hands, hand in hand with the possibilities. So this affirmation would be like, I walk with eyes of love, with God born in my heart, hand in hand with the possibilities. So this would be a good way of starting our meditation. In this case, well, the wazifa that we will use is Ya Wali. Ya Wali, W-A-L-I. And Wali means mastery, and it also means friend. So it kind of covers all the things that we spoke about here. As a being the friend, the unconditional eyes of love, connection with God in the heart. And then the other part is being masterful, being able to focus, become the transducer, accept what is happening at this moment. So I'm going to put my cupped hand and my open hand on my lap, and I'll imagine the light from my eyes of love and my heart, with God born in my heart. And you can close your eyes And we'll say together, Yahwali, mastery and friendship. Yahwali, 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 Yahwali. Let's pause for a moment. So remember, every time you say the wazifa, there's already been a transformation in you. And then as you continue, there's a transformation again. So it's moving into bringing all of these aspects into a one mudra and one intention for making God a reality into your life. Let's continue. Yahwali, 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 and one more. Yahwali. Now as we meditate silently, I'd like you to inhale without any wazifa and exhale thinking Wali. And then continue like this for a while. And feel Wali radiating all the way through you. Now, not saying any wazifa, but going ahead and breathing and feeling the essence of your practice. Not worrying even about the mudra, just feeling the essence of what you're accomplishing. All right, let's open our eyes. And I want to say that it's a very delicate work to come to the place where we are wanting so much and offering so much, and at the same time accepting ourselves fully. And that is the real challenge for us to do this work. I feel a lot of thankfulness also from the divine as far as what we are stepping forward and accomplishing. Amen.
So I was thinking as Bonnie Ra was talking, especially at the start about the eyes being part of our neural network, Neural. But then I had a thought, well, this idea of transducing, it's also our being is part of a NURAL network, neural, the transforming the divine light, that in between station of going from what the mystics call just the light of divine intelligence, consciousness without an object, to the all-pervading light of the angelic realm, all the way down to the light that's experienced in physical manifestation and what returns. And we are, when we become fully engaged in the alchemical process of which our being is in an ongoing relationship with the divine, as we've said many times before, it's not, as we tend to think of it, as just transforming our end of things to reach some end, but it's transforming the relationship between our manifest and transcendent self. That is what undergoes the alchemical process. And it's a process of a transformation of light through light, as we are beings of light and become capable of engaging in what we've been talking about through these many, many classes that we've shared, of what we bring to the meeting place, what we bring to the barzakh, that creative power of the heart, Hima, what can manifest from that in the new creation. Then I was also thinking, when Rabani Ra was talking about the power that our glance develops, and we don't want it to become hardened, but she was talking about the heart. And so we want our glance to be heartened, 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 our being to become heartened, which is opening up that heart quality in the relationship of whatever we are experiencing. And then the third thought that came to mind, talking about this theophor, the God bearer, Bearer, which Rabani Ra explained is more than just, we're not just carrying God, but I was thinking we are becoming the God Barer, bearer, opening, revealing, making a reality to be able to be fully seen and experienced through our being and our relationship with what we're experiencing. So that segues into what I want to talk about in my portion of tonight. And I've always loved this one chapter in one of the message volumes of Hazrat Inayat Khan called Spiritual Circulation Through the Veins of Nature. I mean, that's just such a beautiful image. So I'd like to read you some passages, and then we'll go on from there. These are all from Hazrat Inayat Khan. When one observes keenly the nature of this life of variety, one finds that behind the veil of variety, there's only one life, the source and goal of all things. It is this life which may be called the blood of the universe, circulating through the veins of nature. It may be called either substance or spirit. It is something out of which all that is seen and all intelligence is molded and kept alive and in working order. It is this life which we know as intelligence. Life is intelligence everywhere. And the more one communicates with life, the more one feels that even the rock is not without life, that through it pulses the blood of the universe. And when we look at life from this point of view, we see that there is no place, no object which is not sacred, that even in a rock, one may find the source and goal of all things in that particular form. And here's just the gem of all this, which I'm going to just kind of improvise on. If we are able to communicate with even one vein of this life, then we are in touch with all the veins of the universe. So we've talked before about I won't say idea because it's a reality, that everything is a potential portal to the sacred, to the divine, when we are able to do all the things we've been talking about, come into that state of harmonic relationship, experience Tawil, experiencing the opening of that which transpires beyond that which appears, that anything, everything is an entry point to that sacredness, to that being of the divine. And so I was inspired for the idea of this class because I've always, like Ravani Ra, loved pure light, he would call it the antipodal views, the two sides of looking at things. And for, I would say for decades, I've been working with practices and exploring the shift between the perspective of looking at things through the human vantage point and experiencing things through the divine vantage point, and with what we've been doing through both of those coming together. So if everything is a means of connecting with the totality of the life that flows through the universe, then that's true for us experiencing the divine through whatever we're connecting with. But it's equally true that that modality of connection is the way that the divine is experiencing us, is experiencing him herself through that. And so when we think of the barzakh, when we think of the meeting place, probably the first thing that tends to come to mind is your eyes are closed, you're in meditation, you're coming to that interface between your human and divine parts of your being, your personal Lord, your personal angel, which is very much true. That's a very important aspect of the barzakh. But the barzakh and the meeting place also happens equally as much and just as important in manifestation, in our way of relating to what we're experiencing. But again, the probably most common way that you have of relating to that is when we're relating to another person and we're experiencing that deep connection where there feels like there's this flow between us, that light upon a light, that third presence that is created, those inspirations that come that never could have come from either one of us separate. And also we think about this coming to the meeting place, this connecting with the sacred through nature. You're being in some beautiful place in nature. Or we may think of it through an experience we might have with music or poetry or art or some other means. But I started thinking this week, especially as I was walking around, the way that that takes place through a more fundamental level of existence. For one, through the elements of earth, water, fire, and air. Through the just walking the other day, feeling the wind on me, and thinking of it as this is one way in which the divine being is sampling, so to speak, or touching me through the wind, and vice versa. It's the medium, it's the wind. It's part of, if you think of a physiology of the divine, and we're talking about the blood that circulates, well, in our body, there's the air that flows in and out. Or you can think of the wind as one manifestation. You can do the same thing with light, the warmth of the sun. You can think of it experiencing water, being rained upon, or being by a body of water and experiencing that connection with the divine in both directions through that modality. And then I just, I kind of have chain reactions of inspirations and thoughts, and I started thinking about the kind of nested hierarchies of existence, the different levels. So all the way down in manifestation to the subatomic level. There's now so many subatomic particles and so on, that whole level of the quantum structure and the quantum vacuum and so on, up to atoms and molecules and elements and organisms and so on. And mystics in different traditions have talked about different kind of realms of responsibility within these nested levels. And so there are different beings that have governance or responsibility for a particular level. And they could be called elementals, they could be called devas, they could be called like in different traditions, archangels of water and earth and so on. But you can think of all these as part of the structure of the divine being able to experience him herself through the way these different subsystems are operating and flowing and interconnecting with each other. So just close your eyes for a moment and see if you can just jump into this and see if you can experience like what Murshid Hazrat Khan is talking about here, that this life is in everything, even the things that we think of as inanimate, even in the rock, even in just water or fire and so on. But just close your eyes and just open to all these innumerable ways of the life of the divine being is enacted, is given a means of expression through all of these different aspects that all carry within them the essence of the divine being. So whatever you're experiencing right now, the chair that you're sitting in, your feet on the floor, the maybe air conditioning, or if you're somewhere cold, the heat against your skin, the sensations within your body, the thoughts that come into your mind, which arise from this amazing interconnectedness of electrical and chemical sensations in the physical organ of the brain. But those are just the platform for thoughts to take place, which initially may just be kind of random, but if we engage in directing them and opening them in a certain direction, become the very means of discovery of what the mystics call revealed wisdom, revealed knowledge that doesn't come from any base of what we've learned before. It's just entering into a preparatory state of being able to receive this wisdom that we're now capable of working with. And it comes in forms of light to us. And our being translates these forms of light into many different things. It could be images in our mind. It could be feelings of energy moving through the subtle centers of our body. It could be subtle sounds that we hear, the music of the spheres. It could be emotions in our heart as we think about those we love and those that we feel compassion for. Just allow yourself to feel and experience this teeming, ongoing dance of emergence of divinity into manifestation. And we are each a part of what I've called now the neural NURAL network. This network of light. Is continually discovering and evolving, opening to new possibilities. So I'm going to share 3 divine names, and we're going to use these names through the rest of my part of this evening. And the first is Ya Basir, Basir, which means the divine seeing. And it's not the ordinary seeing with the physical eyes. It's the enabling, what Ravani Ra was talking about, that light of divinity coming through our eyes, but also the divine being able to discover through us, through all that we see with our external eyes, but also our subtle vision internally. So that's Yabasir. And then Yakudus, Quddus, which means pure spirit. Gabrielite would say that pure spirit is that which makes life live, the catalyst of life energy. And the third is Yabaith, Baith. Baith means the resurrection. So the words are Yabasir, the divine seeing, Yakudus, light of pure spirit, and Yabaith, the resurrection. So this is a way of seeing in a very different sense than the way we usually experience it, that catalyzes whatever we're perceiving, external or internal, with the light of pure spirit, and brings about the resurrection of what we're experiencing that enables it to bring forth its divinity. So, and it enables us to be engaged in this two-way relationship of us being Gabriel and what we're experiencing being Gabriel, and each revealing a unique aspect of divinity to the other side. So let's just say this a few times, but then we're going to continue, and this is going to be sort of a seed for what we're going to be looking at. So it's Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, Ya Basir, join with me. Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai. Once more. Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai. Now silently on the breath, think Basir as you exhale, Kudus as you inhale, Bai as you exhale. And then just inhale without a word and continue. Exhale thinking Basir, inhale Kudus, exhale Bai at your own rate. Then letting go of the words and just feeling the essence. And some more from Hazrat Nayat Khan. God, therefore, is not the goal, but the abode of the soul, its real self, its true being. The Sufi, therefore, tries to expand as he or she progresses, for it is the largeness of the soul which will accommodate all experiences, and in the end will become God conscious and all embracing. In order to attain to God consciousness, the first condition is to make God a reality, so that He or she is no longer an imagination. No sooner is the God ideal brought to life than the worshiper of God turns into truth. The depth of that sense, which is the inner sense, is more subtle than one can imagine. When that sense finds a free expression, it not only experiences life more keenly through the organs of the senses, but it becomes independent of the organs of sense. It penetrates through life deeply, and as Kabir says, it sees without eyes and hears without ears. The reason for this is that all that exists is contained in an accommodation, which the Sufis call an akasha. And by being in akasha, the nature of all things is revealing. Does that sound like anything we've been saying? By being in akasha, the nature of all things is revealing. Everything is Gabriel. In fact, there is nothing in this world which does not speak. Everything and every being is continually calling out its nature, its character, and its secret. And the more the inner senses open, the more it becomes capable of hearing the voice of all things. In every person, this sense exists, but for the most part, hidden, buried. And its being buried gives discomfort, for it is something which is living, the only living being there is. And think about the Barzakh as I read this last section, the meeting place. All the different minds are the different leaves of one tree. Some minds are branches, some are boughs of the tree, and there's only the one source to which all are attached. No object or life can exist without one central point in which everything meets and joins together. And that meeting ground is the divine mind. The Brahmins therefore taught people to bathe at the place where rivers meet. The purification of life was symbolized by bathing at Sangam. Those who really understood knew that this pictured the divine mind, that in life, purification lies in touching that depth of life's sea in which the myriads of forms and names all join. The activity of all beings is directed from that center. The Quran says that no single atom moves independently of the hand of God. That is, no activity of any kind takes place, either here or in the starry space, without the impulse from within. From that depth of life where all minds and the effects of all activities unite. So let's return to those three divine names, Yabasir, Yakadus, Yabai. And I'm just going to say some different ways in which the divine is manifested in manifestation. And as I say each one, visualize that and just say Yabasir, Yakadus, Yabai, and feel that revelation of divinity taking place through that aspect of the divine. So, the subatomic particles, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai. One-celled organisms, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai. The mineral kingdom, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai. Flowers, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai. Trees, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai. Fish, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai. Mammals, Ya Basir, Kudus, Ya Bai, the stars, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, the wind, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, lightning, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, volcanoes, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, waterfalls, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, the ocean, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, space, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, the Jinn, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, the angels, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, the archangels, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, the masters and saints and prophets, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, yourself, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, all of humanity, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, all sentient beings, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, prana, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai, light in all of its forms, Ya Basir, Ya Kudus, Ya Bai. Now just pause. Can you hear or perhaps sense the song of creation, ongoing, ever made fresh creation, being sung through every name and form? It's divine. And your part in that divine symphony. That symphony that plays forth throughout time, throughout all times, beyond usual time, to the song of the subtle realms, the never-ending co-discovery of everything in manifestation in every level, discovering a deeper aspect of divinity as the divine being continually discovers a deeper aspect of him herself through the light that's returned from all of existence in every realm, from every name and form, all parts of one inconceivably vast network of light. Of light beings, each becoming And we'll close this by saying a phrase given by Hazrat Inayat Khan 11 times, and you put your hands upward like this and say, pour upon us thy love and thy light. We'll say it together 11 times. Pour upon us thy love and thy light. 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 Pour upon us thy love and thy light.